Good afternoon and welcome to IBA News this Wednesday, the 17th of August. I'm Elon Aslan-Levy, joining you live from Jerusalem. Over 200 new immigrants from North America made Aliyah this morning, with at least 75 of them planning to join the Israel Defense Forces as lone soldiers. IBA's Ari O'Sullivan has more.
It was an especially joyful arrival at the Ben Gurion airport this morning when 233 new Olim from the United States and Canada stepped into the promised land to start their lives in the Jewish state.
This is my dream. This is the Israeli dream, and I am very much living my dream, very, very much. I left family and I will miss New York a lot, but at the end of the day, Israel is my home.
Among the newcomers are 75 young men and women who will be volunteering to serve in the Israel Defense Forces, most in combat roles. They will join the over 900 lone soldiers from the United States and 3,000 from around the world who are currently serving in the ranks of the IDF.
The minute you start training, you're going to regret it. But the minute you pass it and you make it through and you make it into the unit you want to be in, the sense of gratification is endless. And you know what, if you think we're crazy, so be it. But I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm coming home. I'm coming home to defend my people, to fight in the stead of others. There's nothing better than that. I'm fighting for something bigger than myself. So there's no better sensation. They can call me a fool, they can call me crazy, they can call me an idiot. It's all the same to me. I'm happy to do it all the same.
On hand to greet them was President Reuven Rivlin and government ministers.
This is such an honor for me to join you at this special moment, the moment you have all come home. You are no longer Jews in exile. You are Israelis. Each of you, young and old, man and woman, have fulfilled the dream of 2,000 years. You have made Aliyah.
The flight's other passengers include a diverse mix of people from 22 U.S. states and one Canadian province, including 24 families, 78 children, and 10 medical professionals. The age of the immigrants ranges from 3.5 weeks to 85 years old.
It's crazy. I didn't realize this was going to be like such a big party. But yeah, I'm just really, really happy, and I can't believe it's happening.
Today's flight brings to 50,000 the number of immigrants brought to Israel under the auspices of the Nefesh B'Nefesh organization since 2002.
There's another very important number here, and that's the number 1. What does this mean? Each and every one of you has your own reason that you made Aliyah. Each and every one of you will contribute to the state of Israel in your own way. You all flew on one plane together to follow your dream to move to the one and only one Jewish country in the world. No matter where you came from in this world, you're all part of Am Echad, one nation, the Jewish people.
Later today, another 2 flights are expected to arrive in Israel, bearing 102 new immigrants from France. Ari O'Sullivan for IBA News.
Welcome home. Speaking of home, the cost of housing has increased by 8% over the last year, according to a report by the government appraiser. The report, which examined 16 cities in Israel, found only one city, Jerusalem, where prices fell, and there by 3%. In Herzliya, prices rose 10%, and in Tel Aviv and Ashkelon, 13%, while in Rehovot and Haifa, prices remained stable. According to the report, a 4-room apartment costs an average of 3.09 million shekels, 13% more expensive than last year. Finance Minister Moshe Kahlon's endeavour to drastically reduce house prices in the country appear not yet to be bearing any fruit. In the recently approved budget, the finance minister proposed taxing owners of third apartments, hoping to encourage them to put housing units back on the market. The step received harsh criticism, with Knesset members as well as property professionals saying such a move will only lead to the increase of rents and will distance even further young couples seeking to buy their first home. An estimated 50 to 60,000 Palestinians enter Israel illegally each day. This, according to Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Gadi Eisenkot, who spoke before the Knesset State Control Committee yesterday. The Chief of Staff argued that a lack of funding has prevented the defense establishment from completing the West Bank security barrier in areas around Jerusalem, Gush Etzion and Tarkumiyah near Hebron. He also emphasized the need to speed up the approval of entry permits for work in Israel, noting that 101,000 Palestinian workers with permits already enter Israel daily. Those with permits, he said, were not involved in the recent wave of terror. The arrest of Hamas official Hussein Abu Quaik, head of the terror group's West Bank election campaign and the organization's only representative to the PA's Central Election Committee, is provoking accusations from Hamas that Israel is meddling in Palestinian politics. Abu Quaik was arrested at his home in the El Amari camp near Ramallah yesterday in a joint operation conducted by police, Shin Bet security agency personnel and the army. A statement issued by the Shin Bet said he was arrested because of his involvement in activities that threaten state security. Israel Radio reported that Abu Quaik recently boasted of Hamas as the spearhead of the resistance against Israel. The army is investigating reports that a Palestinian teenager was killed and dozens injured during an IDF operation to arrest terror suspects in the West Bank refugee camp of El Fawa near Hebron. Palestinian Health Ministry officials said Mohammed Abu Hashash was shot in the chest and some 40 Palestinians were injured during the operation, which began yesterday morning and continued last night. The army said 24 Palestinians were lightly injured and that soldiers detained 3 Palestinian suspects. Military officials said claims a Palestinian teenager was killed are being investigated. The army has launched an investigation into a video clip published on Palestinian media outlets which purports to show soldiers throwing a stun grenade at a group of Palestinians sitting outside a Ramallah shop. The viral clip comes from surveillance camera footage, apparently filmed Monday night, and shows a military jeep pulling up near the group of Palestinian men. It's unclear whether there was any conversation between the soldiers and the Palestinians, but the footage shows the jeep pulling away and an object is thrown at the group of men who are seen fleeing the site as the grenade explodes. Police are planning an overhaul in Jerusalem to boost law and order in East Jerusalem Arab neighborhoods. IBA's intrepid Margot Dudkevich visited Jabal Mukaber to discover more about the plans.
Outside the Oz police station that overlooks the East Jerusalem neighborhood, a large police force, including special units, was preparing to enter the area to demolish an illegal structure, one of many operations conducted by police in an effort to ensure the rule of law prevails. While such operations often spur violence that spreads to other areas of East Jerusalem, this time no unrest was reported, and police accomplished their mission without any disturbances. However, the incident only emphasizes the fluidity of the situation, that in a moment's notice can spark rioting and protests. Seeking to lower tensions in the capital, police intend to move away from just counter-terror operations and enforcement against illegal structures and clamp down on crime. Now they're investing 1 billion shekels to beef up law and order in East Jerusalem neighborhoods and establish 5 new police stations.
This is in order to strengthen the police work with the communities, including the different communities in the Israeli Arab neighborhoods, such as in Jabal Mukaber, Isawiya, Atur, Tzur Bacher and Bet Safafa.
The new police stations will allow security forces to meet the daily needs of East Jerusalem communities and will help improve the quality of life, acting as a deterrence against criminals, Rosenfeld insists. The new posts will be staffed by English, Arab and Hebrew-speaking police officers. What exactly will the police in these communities be doing? What sort of work?
We will have police officers that will also be speaking both Hebrew as well as Arabic as well as English, that will be located inside the different communities themselves and file a complaint without having to go across the other side of Jerusalem to one of the larger police stations. The idea is that we will strengthen the ties and the connections with the communities, and therefore we'll be able to prevent incidents from taking place rather than having to respond quickly with different units, special patrol units, undercover units, after a criminal or a terrorist-related incident occurs. Apart from the police stations that exist already in and across Jerusalem, we're planning on adding extra buildings inside the different communities. That is part of the long-term plan, the strategic plan, which was decided by the Minister of Internal Security and the Israeli National Police. And no doubt this will continue over the next couple of months until it's implemented.
While he insists there is constant dialogue between police and officials from East Jerusalem neighborhoods in order to improve ties, no one in Jabal Mukaber was willing to discuss the police initiative on camera. Off camera, Many locals view the new measures as a provocation, something that will only serve to trigger more violence. Instead of boosting police presence, they believe the money should be invested in improving the neglected infrastructure of East Jerusalem neighborhoods and used towards improving education and the welfare of Arab residents.
The local population knows and is aware of the plan. This is a plan which is being carried out not just by the Israeli National Police, but also in coordination with the Jerusalem municipality, and therefore the local residents are aware of that. The idea is to help support the communities, give the local residents as much support as necessary from police community work, working together.
Time will tell if Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan's plan to reduce lawlessness in East Jerusalem will succeed in reducing violence, or will only fuel a potentially volatile situation.
We're talking about a large-scale plan that will take place across Jerusalem. It's no doubt necessary after we've seen both an increase in attacks that have taken place since last October 2015, where we've seen the result of many terrorist attacks inside Jerusalem. A lot of those terrorist attacks have taken place also from within inside the Israeli Arab communities, and therefore it's very important that we strengthen the relationship on two levels, on a criminal level, on a terrorist level, in order to prevent those attacks from taking place. Our units and our police officers will be stationed inside the communities, inside the areas wherever necessary.
Marco Dudkevich, IBA News.
Joining us now in the studio to discuss Israel's achievements at the Rio Olympic Games is Ori Lewis, sports correspondent for Reuters. Ori, welcome.
Hi.
This year, Israel sent a record delegation of 27 athletes and to date has come home with 2 bronze medals. Comparatively, compared to the rest of the world, is this considered a good achievement?
It's a good achievement for Israel. It's 47, by the way.
47, pardon
yes. me. Good achievement for Israel, yes. The object of the exercise, as far as Israel was concerned, to come back with at least 2 medals. Any more would be a bonus. There's still a chance of 1 more, I think maybe even 2.
Where are our hopes pinned for the rest of the Games?
There is Ilana Kurtish, who's a freestyle wrestler who will be competing today. She has a chance. She's achieved several successes already on the international stage. And of course, towards the end of the Games, on Friday and Saturday, we've got the women's gymnastics team, who have achieved tremendous things in a reasonably short space of time. And they are certainly possible medal contenders.
Well, we'll keep our eye on that. But when and how did Israel become such a big hitter in judo?
Judo has really been a big sport in Israel for quite a long time, but it started with Yael Arad, Israel's first medal winner ever in 1992 in Barcelona. She said, "I'm going to go and win a medal at last for Israel." It took 40 years for that to happen. And she achieved her aim. And when you look at what happens at the Olympic Games, it's the biggest stage for sports in the world. So many people go with dreams and come back.
I mean, are we talking about 2 exceptionally talented judokas, or is there a broader ground system of judo in Israel?
Yes, indeed. There is quite a broad ground sort of grassroots system of judo in Israel for sure. Israel is a leading nation in the world, I would say, certainly after the achievements in Rio, where even though there are only 2 medals, but there were certainly other quite good achievements by others who didn't even get there.
In light of those achievements, is there a sense that the government is investing enough in sports, particularly to help our Olympic athletes achieve their dreams, and also with the Paralympic Games, which are coming up soon?
Well, if you look at the situation, look at what Britain has done, and I think that's an unbelievable example about how they've increased investment from a few million before 1992, when there was only 1 gold medal, to now when they're second in the table.
Extraordinary achievement.
Absolutely extraordinary. With 20 now and possibly getting up close to 30 medals by the end of the Games. But they've increased investment by 100-fold. They're spending over £500 million a year.
So would you say our athletes are making these achievements despite rather than because of levels of government funding?
That's exactly the term I would use, yes. The achievements of Israel are despite funding and not because of the funding, and because of the dedication of the people who are involved. Now, because It's only a small country with very limited resources. You can't spread your net too wide.
Oh,
so
we're never going to be able to host the Olympics here like London.
Well, not hosting the Olympics is one thing,
But
but certainly also not being able to invest in many sports. That's why you see judo successes and failures elsewhere.
Okay, well, looking at the international picture, we've seen some very unsportsmanlike behaviour from Arab delegations, from the Lebanese bus incident through to the Egyptian judoka refusing to shake hands with Ori Sasson. Do Israeli athletes experience this sort of treatment at every tournament? It just makes headlines during the Olympics.
Well, when there's a situation where an Israeli athlete would meet somebody from a country that is hostile or sees Israel as a hostile country, you do get these cases. In past games, there have been cases where Iranian athletes have refused even to take the mat. In judo, there was one case a couple of games ago. It does happen every now and then, not that often, but there are cases every now and then where these things happen, and it's very unfortunate that they can't put politics aside and just concentrate on sport.
How unfortunate. Ori, thank you very much. We'll keep our fingers crossed for our athletes.
My pleasure.
7 soldiers were injured when a D9 bulldozer collided with an armoured personnel carrier between Mount Dove and Mount Hermon near the Lebanese border last night. 1 officer, 1 non-commissioned officer and 5 soldiers suffered various degrees of injuries, with 2 said to be in serious condition. The victims were transferred by helicopter and ambulances to the Rambam Hospital in Haifa and the Ziv Hospital in Tzfat. The accident occurred as troops were leaving the Mount Dove area. The army said it was investigating the cause of the accident. Sticking with the northern border, and the US State Department said it is unfortunate but not surprising that Iran has permitted Russia to use an airbase in its territory in order to launch airstrikes in Syria against opposition forces, Islamic State and other groups operating in Syria to bring down the regime. The US response came as Ali Shamkhani, the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, announced yesterday that the Islamic Republic and Syria are engaged in strategic cooperation to fight terrorism in Syria. The statements came shortly after a Russian Defense Ministry statement said Russian fighter planes are using an airbase in the Iranian city of Hamadan. While Iran and Russia have been staunch supporters of Syrian President Bashar Assad and his regime and have been deeply involved in the civil war raging in the country, it is the first time they have announced direct military ties between them.
It's unfortunate but not surprising or unexpected. And I think it speaks to the continuation of a pattern that we've seen of Russia continuing to carry out airstrikes, and now it appears with Iran's direct assistance, that at least purport to target ISIL and Daesh targets, as well as Nusra targets. But in fact, and we've seen this continually, predominantly target moderate Syrian opposition forces.
It will now be illegal to use the phrase Polish death camps in Poland if a bill approved by the Polish government yesterday passes in the parliament as expected. Individuals who refer to wartime concentration and extermination camps, including Auschwitz, Sobibor and Treblinka, as Polish rather than Nazi camps, could now face up to 3 years in prison. The bill would also criminalise accusing Poland of war crimes or crimes against humanity, although historians and artists would reportedly be exempt in their work. Poland has long been highly sensitive towards suggestions that it or its citizens bear any responsibility for the Holocaust, insisting that it was unambiguously a victim of the German occupation, and despite evidence of complicity by individual Poles and outbreaks of anti-Jewish violence by Poles such as the Joadne massacre in 1941. 2.5 million non-Jewish Poles perished during the German occupation. In 2012, US President Barack Obama caused outrage in Poland by speaking of a Polish death camp when awarding the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously to Polish resistance fighter Jan Karski. Dozens of children participated in the country's Rubik Cube Championship, which opened in Rānana yesterday. Participants hope to break the world record set by Felix Zemgeds from Australia, who managed to solve the puzzle in 6.88 seconds. Chagai Shafir, the chief executive of Synapse, the company that organised the competition, said contestants will try to break the world record with different variations of the Rubik's Cube, some using 2 hands and others only 1, and for the daring, with a blindfold. New pharmacy Good Farm is seeking to mimic the business model of cut-price cafe chain Kofix, selling toiletries and other items for 10 shekels or less. The firm plans to expand from its flagship King George Street store in Tel Aviv to a nationwide network of 25 shops by the end of the year. It stocks a range of well-known brands and is looking to market products under its own house brand too. The venture is the initiative of entrepreneurs Adam Friedler and Ohad Sandler and received initial investment from the estate of Jewish-American pharmaceuticals mogul Alex Grass, which reportedly opted to invest out of a sense of mission and Zionism. In finance, the shekel is mixed and the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange is down today. And in weather, the cooling down of the last few days is set to reverse tomorrow with a slight rise in temperatures, and it will be partly cloudy. That brings us to a close for today. I'm Elon Aslan Levy, wishing you a good evening live from Jerusalem.